Obviously, if I knew that was an investor on the phone, I wouldn't have picked it up and gone, "My name's Jeff," but I did, okay? That's on me. I'll own up to that, all right? But I still stand by it. That's a very relevant quote. Hi, I'm Gruffus. Welcome to Puppet Tabletop, and today we're going to be taking a look at, well, nothing, actually. There's nothing right here. We're going to be taking a look back at 2025. My name's Jeff. Man, it's crazy to think it's been almost 10 months since the channel started. I remember when we first started working on the channel back in 2024, and it took us ages to figure out how to get the green screen to function correctly, how to figure out the audio. It was a mess. I remember we were using the board game Beacon Patrol to try and figure out how we wanted to format our reviews and to test doing footage. We probably filmed that review like 8 or 9 times before we just said, screw it, let's just upload something. And our first upload wasn't even about Beacon Patrol, funny enough. Anyways, here we are. It's already 2026, so let's dive right into it. I think 2025 was probably one of the busiest and most stressful years I've ever had. Being deeply indebted to a murderous octopus really takes a lot out of you mentally. As a result, after a long day, it can sometimes be hard to have the energy to play something that requires a lot of mental power. Voila! That's where Dwarf Romantic came in. While it's not one of my top games of all time, it's definitely the game that I played the most this year. Every time my wife and I were burnt out watching TV or playing Switch, we'd make some tea or pour a glass of wine, and then we'd break out Dwarf Romantic. It's a really relaxing tile-laying game that doesn't really have any real win or loss conditions. You're just laying down tiles, trying to make this adorable little village, and trying to score as many points as you can. There's achievements that you can try to aim for, and when you unlock them, you add new tiles to the game, but they're just optional. It's just really fun to lay the tiles down and watch this really unique landscape unfold before you. I am planning on doing a review for this game at one point, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But whenever we wanted to play a board game and just really didn't have the energy, Dwarf Romantic was right there waiting for us.
This one was pretty tough for me. I would have sworn that Lord of the Rings Fate of the Fellowship would have been my most played game this year, but a few months ago, I finally opened up a new game that's been sitting on my shelf for a while. Bing! Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. For those unfamiliar with it, it's the travel-size version of Gloomhaven that's designed for solo play. You pick a character and then go through a campaign of scenario-based combat encounters, playing cards, rolling dice, and upgrading your character as you go. It is an extremely stripped-down version of the parent game, but, you know, it's still pretty good. I remember the first day I played this game. I started at 4 p.m. thinking that I would play until I got hungry for dinner. But before I knew it, I was yawning, looked back at the clock, and it was 2 a.m. I had been playing all night and had completely lost track of time. And the next few days were a similar story. This game consumed hours and hours of my life as I came back for play after play after play. And while it's not my favorite solo game I played this year, it stayed set up on my desk for weeks, and I played it countless times over those weeks. The number of times that I played it was largely due to just how easy this game is to jump in and out of, but if we're going solely based on the game that I played the most this year, that's Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs.
In 2025, we reviewed 22 different games. Out of those 22 games, 2 of them ended up leaving my collection. The first one that left the collection was Moon Colony Bloodbath. It was a game that had a lot of really interesting ideas and mechanics that I think made it stand out from the crowd in a lot of ways, but overall, it just kind of felt like the game didn't really give you a lot of agency as a player. Whenever there was a decision to be made, the correct decision was always pretty obvious, so it didn't really feel like much of a decision. I ended up feeling like the game just played itself every time I took it out. Ultimately, I ended up trading it to a local designer in exchange for a used copy of their game Tag You're It, which I actually had a much better time with than Moon Colony Bloodbath. The other game that didn't survive the year was actually the final review that I did for the year, Agent Avenue. It's a game built around the I split, you choose mechanic, and while I didn't strongly dislike the game, it just never really landed for me. It felt like the same series of events were unfolding every time I played it, and I just didn't feel like it was worth the price that I paid for it. I ended up giving it to one of my buddies who, as far as I know, doesn't have a ton of small box games in his collection, so I figured he might be able to get more use out of it than I did. So yeah, all the games that ended up leaving my collection from those reviews were ones that I just couldn't see myself wanting to pull off the shelf again. Alright, so let's pull a 180 and pivot to a more positive topic. My favorite gaming moment of 2025. In May of 2025, I got to attend a convention called KublaCon, and it really reminded me of why I love the hobby so much. It's a convention that doesn't really focus too heavily on promoting the newest and hottest games. Instead, it's more about gaming with people that are just as passionate about the hobby as you are. You get to meet a lot of really cool people at this convention, which is one of my favorite parts of being in the hobby to begin with. This convention has an open gaming space too that's available 24 hours a day. Around midnight on one of those days, me and two of my friends decided we were going to try and squeeze in one more game before heading home. Whoopah! Zuvadis. We had just purchased this game at the convention and we decided we were going to set it up, learn the rules, and maybe find some random people to join us for a game. We put up the looking for more players flag on our table and a couple random people did end up coming over and joining us. Maybe it was late and everybody had just loosened up, or maybe there was something in the water, but I gotta tell you, the vibes were on point for that game. As I mentioned, all of us had just met for the first time, but everybody was laughing, joking around, making small talk, and just all around having a great time. We were having such a great time that the game just kind of started to fade into the background. It reminded me of when I was in high school, and me and all my friends would gather at my buddy's house after school, and the focus was always more on hanging out and having a good time than it was on actually playing the game. The game wrapped up, and I actually don't even remember who won, but I just remember thinking, damn, that was a good time. This is why I love the hobby. I think it can be easy to get lost in the sauce sometimes when you're playing board games and get fixated on the board game itself. But if everyone at the table comes with the right attitude, the experience gets elevated to something beyond just playing a good board game. And the fact that board games have the ability to serve as vehicles for those kinds of social experiences is the reason I think I got hooked on the hobby to begin with. So yeah, my favorite board gaming moment of 2025 was just a really great encounter with some strangers at a convention that served as a reminder as to why I love the hobby so much. And if you've never been to a board game convention, I highly recommend it. Even smaller local conventions have this wild ability to get you excited about the hobby just by being around people that love board games just as much as you do. Anyways though, I don't really like talking about all that sappy stuff, it makes me uncomfortable, so I'm just gonna go ahead and leave that right there. Right there. Now, the part of the video I'm most looking forward to, the Q&A. A while back, we asked you guys to submit some questions for Mortimer and I. We also encouraged you to share your favorite game along with your questions, so you'll notice that some of the questions, people are sharing their favorite games, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So, here we go. First up, we'll do the questions for Mortimer.
Alright, what do we got here? Okay, so first up, we have a question from Sit Bear, who asks, does Mortimer have any, magical powers? Are they powerful? Or are they just kind of small convenience tricks? Well, in all honesty, they're mostly just minor convenience tricks. I didn't realize I could do magic until way later in my life, so I was a bit of a late bloomer. I actually dropped out of my first year of wizard college, so, I might be able to cast some more powerful spells, but it would be pretty reckless as I was never properly trained. I just stick to small stuff like making board games pack themselves up or magically refilling my cup. Just small lame stuff like that. The next question is from Isolated Incorporated, who asks, does Mortimer only like solo games, or does he play two-player games with Gruffus? On that note, any two-player game recs? I actually enjoy board games at all player counts, but I primarily play solo games at home because I find them a nice way to unwind and relax. Plus, it's nice to not have any outside pressure to rush through my turns. I actually used to play two-player games with Gruffus all the time, at least up until recently. I don't really know what's going on anymore though, because right before we started the channel, he got really pissed at me about something and he won't tell me what it is, so, we haven't really played any two-player games since then. Anyways, in terms of good two-player recommendations, I have a few. If you want something quick and on the lighter side, I would recommend Toy Battle. It gives you a lot of content for the price, and you could probably learn the game in under 5 minutes. If you're the type of person that likes trick-taking, you might enjoy Sail. It's a modern classic for 2 players by All Play, and it's absolutely fantastic. If you want something that's going to tickle your brain a little bit more, and has some really fun asymmetry, I'd highly recommend Kelp Shark vs. Octopus. And if you haven't seen our review on it already, Gruffus is absolutely obsessed with this game, so, it has his stamp of approval. Lastly, if you enjoy social deduction or hidden roll games, you might enjoy Pagan Fate of Roanoke. It's an absolutely fantastic 2-player game where one player is playing a witch and the other one is playing a witch hunter and is trying to find the witch before she can complete her ritual. It's really great, but yeah, I hope one of those games works out for you. Alright Gruffus, you're up next.
All right, let's see, what do we got here? Next up, we've got a question from Not Brandon Jaspers. Always curious what color meeples you think taste best. I've got a condition where I'm unable to eat them, so I wanted to ask what your preference was. I enjoy y'all's style. Ah, thank you. Currently, my favorite of all time goes back and forth between Spirit Island and Blood on the Clock Tower. Both are so different but so good, so I genuinely can't say which one is my favorite between the two. Well, first, let me help you answer that. The answer is Spirit Island. Oh my god, that game is so good. It's so good. I've had it for ages, and I'm never getting rid of it. I'm gonna hold on to that thing until the day I die. But in full transparency, I've actually never played Blood on the Clock Tower, so, my opinion on that matter doesn't really have much weight. My wife and I tried to watch a rules teach for it and then watched a couple playthroughs of it online, but we had a really hard time following along with the rules, so we never ended up going to our local meetup to try it. In terms of my favorite meeple to eat, I know it's basic, but I gotta say Original Pink is my favorite. There's something about that berry flavor that I've always liked. I've probably eaten tens of thousands of them in my life. And I gotta say, it does break my heart that my non-puppet friends will never know the true glory of a delicious meeple because of, the differing digestive systems. Alright, next up we've got Elian41 or Elian41. I'm not sure which one is correct. If I butchered both, I apologize. What's a game on your shelf you wish would hit the table more and why doesn't it? The current favorite game in our household has gotta be Magical Athletes. Ooh, Magical Athletes looks really fun. A few of the review channels whose opinions carry a lot of weight in my mind have all had very positive things to say about that game, so it's definitely on my need to try list. It's taking all my willpower to not go out and buy it because I do already have some similar games, but man, do I want to try that. In regard to which game I wish would hit the table more, I think I'd have to go with a game called Sand by Devere Games. I've only played it a handful of times and I've loved it every time I got to play it. The issue with that game though is that the rules are super heavy, it's a long game, and the rulebook is an absolute nightmare to read through. Because of that, it makes relearning the game after a break, and also teaching the game to other people, quite a pain. As a result, even though I really love that game, I rarely ever get to break it out. Our next question comes from Better Brainchild. What's the cosmic significance of board games? Winning, losing, strategizing. What's it all for? Like a good wine and cheese, do you have any favorite board game pairings? Like, if you love XYZ filler game, it'll pair nicely with XYZ weighty game? Alright, time to philosophize, or whatever the verb is. For me, I think board games are a nice escape from the world. You and the other players all agree that for a time you're gonna exist and operate within the confines of a rule system that give you a logical and safe way to approach problem solving and taking risks. If you're playing a multiplayer game, there's always the added joy of engaging with the system alongside other people, and it gives you all the opportunity to socialize with each other in a way that you normally wouldn't have the opportunity to. But then again, I'm just a puppet that was raised by 2 sewer rats, so what do I know? In terms of good pairings though, I personally like playing small competitive games right before a larger cooperative game. Last year, my wife and I played a lot of Peacemaker's Horrors of War, and we would always start by doing a 2-player game of Draw Polter to determine who would be the first player in Peacemakers. I think playing a small game to determine a starting player before a bigger game helps round out the night and make it feel like we accomplished more than we actually did. Next, we've got a question from G.I. Pritchard. Are there any board games that you prefer to play digitally instead of the physical copy? Root, Wingspan, and Calico are a few that have full-fledged video game adaptations that come to mind. In all honesty, there actually isn't at the moment. I have the digital versions of Root, Wingspan, and Dune Imperium, but if I had the opportunity to play them in person instead of digitally, I would prefer it in a heartbeat. However, some of those games are really hard to get organized, so I really do appreciate having the digital option. Actually, pretty often, if I'm having a hard time sleeping, I'll roll over and grab my Steam Deck and play a round or two of Dune Imperium while I'm laying in bed. So it's not like I'm against digital versions or anything, it's just that I prefer the tactile and social elements of gaming in person. I do think that my answer is going to change though when Twilight Imperium Digital comes out. I love that game, but it's just way too time consuming and mentally taxing to play in person, so I think I'm gonna prefer the digital version in that case. Our next question comes from Carl Robinson 3703. Wait a minute. That name looks familiar. Do you listen to music while you play games? If so, what are some killer pairings between albums and games? Cosmic Encounter is the best board game. That's just science and it's indisputable. Cosmic Encounter is a great game. I'm ashamed to admit that I've only played it a few times, but every time I've played it, it's been obvious that everyone was enjoying themselves. It's one of those games that's great for getting people together to have some beers and unleash some mayhem. To answer your question though, I almost exclusively listen to music when I play board games. As Mortimer mentioned earlier, I'm a die-hard Kelp Shark vs. Octopus fanboy, so my favorite pairing is Kelp, Shark vs. Octopus, and the Dave the Diver soundtrack. Those two go together like chocolate and peanut butter. They're just so good together. Every time I'm playing that game and listening to that soundtrack, it like transports me to another world. Another pairing that I really like is that when I play Covenant by Devere Games, I'll put on the vanilla World of Warcraft Alliance Tavern music, even though I'm a Horde man myself. But regardless as to what game you're playing, it's usually pretty easy to find a good soundtrack to pair with it. Pairing thematic music with your games really helps you get immersed in it. Next, we've got a question from Bill F7343. I like the cut of your jib. Thank you. What are some of your comedy influences? Ooh, that's a good one. I absolutely love stand-up and sketch comedy, so it's tough to narrow it down. But if I had to pick, I definitely gravitate towards absurdist, over-the-top style comedians. I'd say that the comedians that appeal to me the most are people like Eliza Schlesinger, John Mulaney, and Vic Michaelis. I really like comedians that take normal situations and then just make them absurd. The next question comes from Oliver Benitez 8886. Hey fellas, will you have specific criteria you're ranking on, or will it be more of a gut feel list? Love the content and format of the videos, keep it up. My favorite game at this point in time is probably Marvel Champions or Bottom of the Ninth. Well, first off, thanks for the kind words, that really means a lot. While I haven't played Bottom of the Ninth, one of my friends is obsessed with Marvel Champions, and I played it with him for the first time the other week, and I gotta say I'm definitely hooked. I probably won't buy it since he already has everything, but I totally get why that would be on your list. That game slaps. When it comes to criteria, I don't really use a fixed set of criteria when I review games or rank them. I mostly just go with my gut. My process is usually just to play a game a few times, try it at different player counts, sit with it for a bit, and let my thoughts form over time. A lot of the time, the sitting and thinking about it part is where I form my conclusion on it. If a game sticks in my brain for a while after I play it, it's usually a sign that there was something special about it that I really liked, and I try to figure out what the reason for that is so I can share it. Once I feel like I've got a handle on how I feel about the game, I'll write down what I liked and didn't like about it, and then just present it that way. I mean, I'm no more qualified to talk about my opinion than anybody else is, so it's not like I went to school for this or I got a certificate in board game reviews or anything. I'm literally just some dude recording himself talking about board games. Ideally, as a reviewer, I'm just here as a tool for you guys to decide whether or not a game is worth your time or not. I shouldn't be drawing conclusions for you, and I like to stay firmly in the lane of this is just how I felt about a game, and then give my experience with it. I don't really feel like I'm qualified to be setting any kind of criteria for like what is and isn't a good game. That being said though, there is one area where I am really uptight, and that's the boxes. Boxes and storage solutions have a very specific criteria that they need to meet in order for me to think that they're good. But that's just because I'm a freak about boxes. Anyway, I've gone way off track here. I hope that spaghetti of an explanation provided some kind of answer to your question. Next up, we've got a question from Steve from Blue Torch. Are you guys gonna do a top 10? What kind of solo games does Mortimer like? Steve! Your comments always keep us super motivated, so thanks for always supporting the channel. In regards to the top 10 video format, that was something that Mortimer and I discussed, but we ultimately decided we would primarily just do reviews. It's what we have the most fun doing anyway. However, during that discussion, we did agree to do 2 non-review videos at the end of every year. We'll do one like the one that we're doing right now where we look back on the previous year and answer some questions, and then we'll do a second video which, yes, it will be a top 10. While we decided that we didn't want the top 10 format to be a regular, consistent thing on the channel, we did decide that once a year we will dip our toe into the top 10 pool. So actually, the next video coming out after this one is our top 10 favorite board games of all time video. That list isn't going to get updated very often though, so starting from next year, the top 10 video will be basically the top 10 games that we played in the previous year. In terms of what games Mortimer likes though, I'll go ahead and let him speak to that. Mortimer, go ahead and come back out here.
See, what do we... Oh, what? Oh, no way, this question's from Steve. I think I tend to really like games where you're fighting against an automated opponent, or where you're fighting against the system itself. I think I have a pretty broad taste and tolerance for solo games. As long as it has a clear win condition, and isn't a beat your high score type of game, I'll probably have a pretty great time. I just feel like those beat your high score ones are a little bit hollow, so those are the only ones I can think of that I don't really enjoy. Anyway, thanks for asking. Steve!
Alright, thank you, Mortimer. That brings us to the next question from Izzy and Norm. No way. If you guys don't know Izzy and Norm, they're probably one of the funniest channels on YouTube right now. I absolutely love their stuff. It's awesome. Anyways, they ask, which boards would be best for a DIY kitchen remodel? Now that's gonna depend. If you're looking for some good games to survive the stress of a DIY kitchen remodel, I'd recommend something lighthearted and relaxing like Dwarf Romantic, Corvids, or The Hobbit, There and Back Again. All of those are solid choices. But if you're looking for a board game that can aid in the actual DIY process itself, I'd recommend either Gloomhaven or Covenant. Both of those games have enough density and weight to really do some damage during the demolition process. Those wooden cabinets and tile backsplashes won't stand a chance against a good toss from one of these games. But if you're looking for a board game that can add to the overall beauty and aesthetic of your kitchen, I would highly recommend just buying 60 copies of the game Roth. The neoprene mats in those games are so beautiful that if you super glue those to all the visible surfaces in the kitchen, you'll be the talk of the town. Plus, that's built-in child-proofing right there for when relatives come over with their kids. Anyways, I hope those tips help your DIY kitchen renovation dreams come true. And last, we've got a question here from Sheepy CBT. Do you have any recommendations for food-themed board games? How about your favorite pasta noodle shapes? My favorite board game of all time is Kingdom Death Monster. It's horrible, cruel, and not for everyone though. Self-flagellation is a good adjective for it. Who doesn't love some good old-fashioned self-flagellation? I haven't played Kingdom Death Monster yet, but one day, when me or one of my friends becomes a millionaire, I'm sure I'll get to play it. That game makes me wish I was human so that I could sell one of my kidneys and buy it. In regards to my favorite pasta noodle, I gotta stick with the classic, the spaghetti. I don't know what it is about spaghetti, but it's just the perfect thickness, the perfect floppiness, it's just a perfect pasta. In terms of good food-themed board games, pretty much any game with meeples I would classify as a food-themed board game. God, I love the taste of meeples. Fromage is probably your best bet though if you're a human. I mean, who doesn't love cheese? I guess a lactose intolerant. Nah, lactose intolerant people can take pills to eat cheese. That's how much they love it. Everybody loves cheese. Maybe vegans? No, because there's vegan cheese, right? You use nutritional yeast, and it kind of tastes like cheese when you make like macaroni. Huh. Anyway, you got me in a food and cheese spiral now. Look what you've done. Anyway, fromage, yeah, it's a totally safe bet. But I'm not here to play it safe. No, I've got another food recommendation that the internet doesn't want you to know about. And speaking of pasta, ravioli. Give me the formuoli. I'm talking about Plankton Rising. It's a co-op board game where Plankton from SpongeBob is trying to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. And it's awesome. Okay, well that's actually extremely subjective. I mean, it's awesome to me because I'm a diehard SpongeBob fan, but if you're not a SpongeBob fan, you probably won't like it. But on the off chance that you are, I figured I'd throw it out there because I've never seen this game mentioned ever. It's not a tight game by any means, but if you crank up the difficulty all the way to maximum, you're gonna have a good time. If you're a SpongeBob fan. Once again, if you're a SpongeBob fan. If you're not a SpongeBob fan, you're probably not gonna like the game. Well, I know this was different than our usual videos, but it was fun taking a moment to look back at the last year of gaming in the channel. Also, a big thanks to everybody that submitted questions for the Q&A, and to everybody who supported the channel up until this point. It's an absolute honor that you guys find our crazy reviews and shenanigans worth your time to watch, and we're super grateful for you guys sticking with us through all that Vinny nonsense. Speaking of which, has anyone heard from DeWorm yet?
Oh, you mean this worm?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Ah! Ah! Ah!
You killed DeWorm?
You mean that snitch that you sent to spy on me, you little sewer freak? Yeah, that's right. That's right, I knew all about your little plan. Yeah, we caught him just blocks away from the DA's office.
How did you find that out?
Turns out you're not that popular. At least not as popular as you think, Rufus. Somebody tipped me off that you were gonna turn me in.
Who?
Does big, meaty claws ring a bell?
Big, meaty claws.
Oh my god, why would you say that? Wait, what? No, it's a line from SpongeBob. You know, big meaty claws, you know, because, you know, the card has a lobster on it. You know what? You're sick. You're sick, Rufus, I quit. Oh, come on, Shelbert. Shelbert, come back. Come on, it's a line from SpongeBob.
Shelbert? I mean, come on. It was a SpongeBob quote. It was a frickin' SpongeBob quote, dude.
That's it, Gruffus. I've been more than lenient with you because I've got a soft spot for your little buddy Mortimer. But you know what? That ain't no way to run business. I want all my money back, and I want it paid in full. Otherwise, you're gonna end up like your little worm buddy.
Come on, Vinny. You're being pretty unreasonable right now.
Unreasonable? You say I'm unreasonable? You don't talk to me that way.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Ah! My arm! Ouch! Ah!
How's that for unreasonable, Gruffus? Huh? I want my money back, and you better have it by the next time I come. Otherwise, me and my octopus buddies, we're turning you into chum.
Well, that's gonna do it for this one. As always, thanks for watching, and remember to shop at your local board game store if you can. Oh. Can someone please get me some ice?